place was full. It was about 160 people there that day, I believe. And we sat at a little two-man table over against a window. There were two big plate glass windows and sort of a small brick column between it. I looked to my left out the plate glass window, and I saw the blue Ford truck as it made a circle around past my truck and was headed straight for the window behind Mike. So I jumped up. I'm first aid and CPR certified, and so I jumped up to run around because there was an old couple sitting there at that plate glass window. As I circled around the left-hand corner of his tailgate, all of a sudden his left arm came out with a 9mm Glock, semi-automatic. And there was a female cashier standing there, and he shot her twice in the chest, and it like threw her backwards. I couldn't believe what was going on. And with his other hand, apparently he opened the car door and started getting out. And as he was getting out, I'm standing there facing him, you know, like 5 foot from him. But he started firing down the serving line, which was at probably a 40-degree angle from where he was standing. As fast as he could go, he was just shooting down the serving line, making people, you know, trying to take control of the room. On a semi-automatic, when you run out of bullets, the breech comes back and stays back. And when it came back, that's when Doty yelled out, "His gun is empty." That's when Doty and I jumped up and grabbed the chair. We thought we would exit. He turned and looked at us, and there was an eye contact for just like a couple of seconds. Imagine your worst horror. This guy was horrible looking. I mean, his face was tight, it was drawn, and the eyes were just unbelievably white and large. And he pulled out another gun. He began a clockwise motion throughout the restaurant, and just constantly shooting and screaming and yelling at the women in there, calling them all vipers and bitches, and look what the women of Bell County has done to me. Is this worth it? I'll make you all pay. I'm going to kill you all. Then he continued his circle around, still just doing the same thing, and the whole time yelling at the women, yelling at people, threatening them. He would just reach under the table and grab them by the hair and put a gun to their head and scream at them, tell me, was it worth it? And then he'd just shoot them in the head and just like chunk them like they were nothing. Then he came over to where we were, and he shot me in the upper right hip, and he shot Colonel Doty in the chest. It felt like somebody had hit me with the flat part of their fist, and it was a hard hit, but not real painful like you would think. And he got back over to me again. He was standing behind me at my feet, and I was face down, Colonel Doty was face up, and our shoulders were touching. And Doty yelled at him and said, "Why don't you just get out of here and leave us alone?" And bam, he shot him. I could hear the air escape. I felt his body relax. I know he died instantly at that point. And then for whatever reason, he straddled me, and he had a foot on each side of my hip. And he kicked me on the right-hand side, of course, yanked my body. I had my hand over my face. I had blood all over me from earlier. And so I was hoping he would think I was dead, and I just lay there. He bent over and put the pistol against the soft spot right in the back of my head. And as he pushed the barrel down, I remember saying what I thought then was going to be my last prayer. And I said, Lord, if I die, I'm coming home to play. And then an explosion. It was so loud, it was literally deafening. I heard the explosion, I thought I was dead. I started looking for the lighted tunnel, my grandmother, Jesus, an angel, something, and nobody was there. And this is when I realized, and I literally said it to myself, I said, the jerk missed me. And I pulled my head up, and I could see a tear in the carpet right by my finger. I remember hearing the police yell at him, "It's the police, drop your weapon and give up." Only thing I can think of was that he turned to look, and when he did, he pulled his hand and shot and tore the carpet next to me. So as you can see, thank God he missed the second shot. he started shooting at the police. They shot one round and caught him somewhere in the forearm, and he dropped one pistol on a plate of food. And he ran back into an alcove of the bathroom, or between the two bathrooms. He was trying to get into one of the bathrooms, but there were patrons in both of them that were laying on the floor holding the doors closed. So he was forced, he was hidden behind a partial wall and started a gunfight with the police. And at this time, I'm laying on the floor looking around. There's bodies everywhere. I thought, I'm okay, I'm getting out of here. I'll see if I can find somebody to take out with me. And there were 7 bodies around me, and they were all dead. When I turned to my right, I saw my buddy Mikey, and he was laying at my foot. He was a doctor, and he was my friend. I think he saw me get shot, and he was coming to me to see what he could do to help. I believe that's why he got shot. He was shot 3 times. And when I spun to see him, I could see blood dripping out of the top of his head. And I felt his body. He was warm. I felt for a pulse. I was shaking him. I was hollering his name, and there was no response. But he was still warm, so I'm thinking he's still alive. I didn't want to drag him out across dead bodies, so I just decided to lay there with him. And he took real careful aim, and he shot 2 shots that hit the gunman in the midsection. Well, it didn't kill him, but he dropped to the floor at that point. He realized he was dying. He realized it wasn't going to work, so he was also, wasn't out of bullets, but all the clips he had left fit the gun that he dropped earlier. So he's shelling them out one at a time to fire back at the police, and he finally put the gun to his left temple, and he shot himself. I mean, just almost immediately, I could hear orders, you could hear sirens, all of these things going on. But I heard somebody just behind me start yelling, dead, 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 dead. And I rolled back to look to see who was yelling. It was EMT. They finally let them in. He saw me alive, and he yelled, "We have a live one." That was some pretty good words. Best words I'd heard, I guess, through the whole 12-minute ordeal. I was shot in the back. Actually, it was in the upper hip, and it came out my stomach. It actually didn't come out because I was laying belly on the concrete. It missed my backbone by a ½ inch, missed all the major nerves, missed all the major arteries, but yet it was life-threatening. I didn't have to have a blood transfusion, but they said it was so close, and they almost lost me a couple of times on the operating table. But everything's healed up, everything works, and everything's good now. Just an ugly scar.